welcome to my channel. My name is Jack. Today I want to talk about Walt Disney World's Steakhouse 71. I like this restaurant overall. It's definitely top 5 on my list from my recent trip to Walt Disney World, but it's not number 1 because there are some issues with the service. Let's start at the very beginning. I booked this restaurant with the advanced dining reservations, just like you would any of the other restaurants in Walt Disney World that's owned by Disney. And I suggest you book them around the same 60-day window, at the beginning of the 60-day window, that you would any other park full service restaurant. As you can see here, I booked this back in May 27th for a dinner on July 22nd. Pretty much not quite 60 days, but close enough. I think I was really trying to book all the park restaurant first. But again, I think you pretty much have to do this even with all your restaurants. So getting to this restaurant, since we stayed in the Walt Disney Dolphin Resort, getting to this restaurant meant taking the bus from the Dolphin Resort to the Ticket and Transportation Center for Magic Kingdom. And then from there, we could take the Resort Line monorail to all the different resorts around Magic Kingdom, which is Polynesian, the Grand Floridian, and then finally the Contemporary. Since I know that we're going to another restaurant in the Polynesian, we just skipped that and just end up checking out the Grand Floridian. We had a short stop there, and then we got to the Contemporary around like 7:30. Once we figured out where we were, because the monorail stops right inside the Contemporary, but it's around the fourth floor, and you have to go down to all the way to the lowest level to get to Steakhouse 71. Once we got there, I checked in around like 7:40. I have dinner reservation at 8 p.m. as you saw from the ADR earlier. We didn't get to sit down until 8:10, so we waited a total of 30 minutes, basically starved for 30 minutes more or less. Maybe I didn't book it early enough. If I booked the ADR at the first day that was available, I probably could have gotten a 7 p.m. reservation instead of an 8 p.m. reservation, but I got what I got. Anyway, I was hoping to get there a little earlier and be able to get seated a little earlier. So even though my reservation was at 8 p.m., I was hoping to get seated around like 7:45. I'm hoping, really, fingers crossed, maybe 7:50, honestly. But instead, we actually got seated later than expected. So that was disappointing. And it's really one of the issues I mentioned earlier when I said that there are some issues with this restaurant. But once I walked in, the atmosphere is nice. It is a modern steakhouse, very busy. There's walls of like artwork, and then there's some frame photos near some of the other walls. But other than that, there's no windows. You almost wouldn't know you are in Disney World. Anyway, once we sat down, I ordered myself a Pier French 75, which tasted very good. But as you can see here, it's not pleasing to the eyes. It's just brown water, unfortunately. That's what it really looks like when I first saw it. I was like, oh. But at least it tasted very good. And then I ordered for my family. I already had a good idea of what I wanted to get for all of us, at least for my wife and myself. I wanted to try that bacon and eggs, which is really pork belly and eggs. For the entree, I heard great things about their cheeseburger. I knew they only served it in the lounge area, but it didn't hurt to ask. Fortunately, our waiter confirmed they can make it, so I ordered that with the waffle fries for my wife. I know for myself, I wanted to get the prime rib with a flight of sauces. I know I also can pass off that mac and cheese side to my daughter and order like a side of mushroom for my wife because she loved mushrooms. But then I forgot that my daughter already looked at the menu and she wanted to get her baked fish, sliced apples, and ice cream sundae. In hindsight, I shouldn't have ordered my daughter's dish because she eats steak and I could have just gave her some of the prime rib and we would have room for dessert. But instead, she was complaining that she was full after she had her fish and her mac and cheese. Anyway, we ordered around 8:20 p.m., but we didn't see any food come out until 8:55 p.m., almost an hour after our reservation time. This was because the bacon and eggs appetizer never came. We ended up having our waiter remove it from the order at the end, but the late seating and the missing appetizer definitely deducted points and knocked this restaurant out of my top three for my list. But what saved this restaurant really was that the food was really good. The prime rib was fantastic, juicy, tender with a nice chaw on the side.
Alright, so starting here we have our red wine sauce, our whipped horseradish, our au poivre, which is the French peppercorn, our chimichurri, our béarnaise, which is our take on a hollandaise sauce, our signature 71 steak sauce, and our wild mushroom sauce.
Ooh.
You've got your warm sauces down here and your chilled sauces up here. Here's our cheat sheet.
Oh
The
yes,
order that
definitely
runs
need that.
down is that
Okay.
zigzag order, okay?
Okay, got
and
it.
I will slide that right there for you.
The flight of sauces was the cherry on top. It was really fun to try all the sauces. And I would say this is my personal ranking. Obviously, you guys have your own preferences, but what I liked, from the least favorite to my most favorite of the seven sauces, the least favorite is probably the whipped horseradish cream. If you love wasabi, you'll love the sauce. But for me, it didn't pair well with the steak. Too overwhelming. The au poivre, that is it's like a peppercorn sauce. I normally like this kind of sauce, but it's too peppery. Definitely perfect for the black pepper fans. And then there's the chimichurri sauce. This is like to me like a classic Brazilian steakhouse sauce. I really like the aromatics, but that EVOO, that extra virgin olive oil, changed the balance of the fat and the meat in the steak, so it made it look a little more too oily. I liked it. I think the next one I liked even more actually was the béarnaise sauce. The béarnaise sauce added that creaminess and it coats your mouth with every bite. It's really good. And the red wine sauce is probably the one I like even more than that, but there's a caveat to that. Originally, when I first had it, my first bite, I mean my first few bites, I said, oh, wow, this is my favorite sauce. I literally said that. And then it's a bit sweet, but it goes really well with the steak. But the thing is, after you get maybe 20 minutes in, like towards the end, I remember I felt there was like a little bitterness to it as you get to the bottom. Maybe it's just how it's settled. I can't really say. It definitely lost its rank from being my favorite sauce. And then the penultimate, the second favorite sauce that of mine was actually the Steakhouse 71 sauce. I really like the sauce, but this is the kind of sauce that you would put on like a bad piece of steak because it has so much flavor. It's like really it's tangy. It's really good. But this is a prime rib. You really don't need it. This prime rib was really well done. You don't need it. But I still like the tanginess of it so much that there were more than a few pieces where I was just using the piece of steak to just lift that sauce into my mouth. So it's my second favorite. But again, like I said, I feel conflicted about that sauce. And my favorite sauce is really the wild mushroom sauce. So it had that creaminess like the béarnaise sauce has, but also has that umami savoriness to every bite of the steak. It just adds that flavor to it. I originally gave this to my wife as she loves mushroom, but when I got it back, I couldn't stop eating it. So that was my favorite sauce. My wife and I just split the steak and the cheeseburger. I had most of the steak, but then she still gave me like probably half her cheeseburger, and I say the cheeseburger is really good, but it wasn't knock your socks off good. The patties are thin and it was like a nice crisp to it because of how they cooked it, kind of like a smashed patty kind of thing. But the thing that really attracted me to this, at least when I was looking at reviews, other people's reviews, I think DFB had it, like I think there's a couple of places that talked about this, and I'm gonna link those reviews in here just so you guys have a much more detailed understanding of what I saw that got me attracted to this restaurant. And what I saw from those other reviews was that they used pork belly instead of bacon in the cheeseburger. And I was like, oh, I have to try it. This is a scene. I was like, oh, I have to try this. But here's the thing. It's like, as much as I like pork belly, it just doesn't offer that crispiness that a cooked piece of bacon offers. The truth is, it just wasn't memorable. I saw those reviews probably back in May, like around the time I was booking this restaurant, and then I honestly don't remember that there's pork belly in there, at least not until I actually look back at the pictures on Disney's website for this cheeseburger and the photo that my wife took, that I really remember, oh, yeah, it had pork belly in there. As I said, it was a really good cheeseburger. If only they had a way to make the pork belly stand out more, I think that would have made it really over the top and really that's something that I would definitely recommend. So the entrees, as I said, definitely really good. The sides, I was okay with the waffle fries, but they were good when they were hot, but then my wife complained that they became a little bit hard when they cooled down. Probably need to really eat that first, maybe even before the burger. The mushrooms were not a fave. It was a little bit of a miss for me because the red wine glaze made it sweet and bitter. So not a combo I would go for in mushrooms. I would prefer like a onion, like mushroom and onion combo, mushroom onion garlic combo. That's something I would prefer over a red wine glaze. So it was not quite a thing for me. Here are my pros and cons for Steakhouse 71. Pro, food is top notch. Top three of all the restaurants we visit in Disney World. Probably top two if we're only talking about full service restaurants. And the other pro is that you get to visit the Contemporary. It's a nice looking hotel. I wouldn't pay $500 per night to stay here, but it's fun just to visit the hotel that they built back in 1971, the same time as Magic Kingdom. And another pro was that it's not extremely expensive for a full service dinner. There are more expensive places in Disney World, certainly. Our bill came out to be $120.88 before tips, and we were extremely full. We didn't even have room for dessert. I almost wanted to, but at the same time, I know that my wife isn't a big fan of it, of desserts. I know my daughter had her dessert, her ice cream sundae, so I didn't really need it. I had no room for it after I polished off the prime rib. So here are the cons. Long wait time just to be seated. If you have a reservation, you don't expect to wait 30 minutes to be seated. Granted, I was there early, but still. We've been to other restaurants in Walt Disney World, like the Skipper Canteen, Tiffin's, where we got there at least 15 minutes before the reservation time. And well, Skipper Canteen was actually closer to like 25 minutes, and they just sat us after like 5 minutes of waiting. But for Steakhouse 71, that didn't happen, and we were just starving while we were waiting, and it was just miserable. So this is related to the next con, which is that service is a bit slow as well. We didn't get our meals until 8:50 p.m. And we had plans to watch the fireworks that goes off from the Magic Kingdom right inside a Contemporary, but that plan got completely scrapped because of how long it took for the food to come. So by the time we really started eating, it was almost 9 o'clock. We didn't finish eating until 9:35, and I know the fireworks start around 9:20, but still, by the time we walked out of the restaurant, the fireworks were over. So anyway, my final thoughts. I would definitely go back to Steakhouse 71, maybe for lunch, as they have different menu items than dinner. But it definitely is worth going for dinner, as long as you don't have anything to do for the next 2 hours. And that's my review of Steakhouse 71. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys found it helpful. And I hope you guys have a great time at Walt Disney World whenever you guys decide to go. Have a wonderful day.